Welcome back to another episode on the J.A.T side. I'm your host, Jalen Austin Taylor, and today is June 4th, 2025, and I'm glad and excited to have you here for another episode and first episode of the month of June. Blessed to make it to a new month, and we're officially halfway through 2025 at the end of this month, so we're almost halfway through 2025, which is crazy to say, but time is flying, and I hope that everybody's been able to have a great year so far. If not, I hope you have a great rest of the year because there's still a lot of time left in the year. A couple announcements before we get into today's episode. Number one, I don't think I mentioned this in my last episode because I had a special guest on, but I do want to go ahead and say thank you on this live for 2,000 total streams across all episodes, and excluding YouTube views, but everywhere where the full episode is at except for YouTube, where the full episodes are uploaded. So that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other streaming platform you can think of, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, just all those different streaming platforms. So I'm extremely blessed and thankful to have accomplished this new goal that I had and this new feat, and I wouldn't be able to do it without the help of you guys listening to my episode. So thank you to all of my viewers, past, present, and future. But my last announcement before we get right into today's topic, we just started a new series on the J.A.T side here last week called Navigating the Rift, Stories from the Front Lines. So if you haven't already listened to the episode from last week, pause this episode real quick and go listen to that episode. Or as soon as this episode is over, go immediately and listen to that episode. It was a great episode. I had Dr. Nicholas Coombs join me on the J.A.T side, and he shared a lot of great info and a lot of his experience dealing with his layoff that he received from the federal government, RIFs that have been going on. If you don't know what a RIF is, you can go listen to that episode and you can find out exactly what that means. But I don't want to waste any more time, so without further ado, let's get straight into today's episode. And as you can tell by the title, it's going to be about believing in God and believing God and the difference between the two. And this is a topic that I wanted to talk about for a very long time. I'd been thinking about it, and I was just looking for the right timing and the right opportunity to talk about it. And I thought there's no better time than the present. So for today's episode, that's why I chose this topic. And just taking a little bit of a break from the Navigating the Rift series while I get the next guest ready to come on. But until then, obviously the show has to go on. So that's why I'm glad to give you guys this new content today. So let's start off with believing in God. And believing in God, I think there's a lot of people who say that they believe in God. There's a lot of people who will acknowledge that they believe in God in public. But when you look at them outside of that statement, they don't look like a person who believes in God. And I'm going to talk about how you know if a person truly does, believe in God, because a lot of times you can tell by the way that somebody lives their life if they really truly believe in God. Because it's one thing to say you believe in God, and another thing to actually show with your actions that you believe in God. And I know nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, including myself. So this is not about being perfect, but this is just about being real, looking at the reality of a situation and looking at the fruits of a person's life. The Bible says that you can tell if a person is bearing fruit by the way that they live and how, and the fruits of what they do. Like if they're producing bad fruit because they're always doing bad things, and you see the bad negative effects of it, whether that's getting into trouble, or getting different negative consequences for negative actions. That's how you tell if somebody's doing negative. But if they're doing good, you'll see, hey, oh, they're getting good grades, or they're making good impacts in the community, or they're even just helping people when they see them, even if they don't know them. Like, just little things like that can show that a person truly believes in God. And there's a verse that I wanted to share, um, because believing in God essentially is just acknowledging that God exists. It doesn't show faith in Him, or true belief in Him. So James 2:19 says that, and this is the New Living Translation. You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. And to me, this verse pretty much means that even though you can say that you believe in God, or you say, "Oh yeah, I have faith," um, it basically says it means nothing, because even the demons believe in God. And I think this verse really emphasizes the fact that your actions are louder than your words. You hear people say it all the time. Your actions speak louder than your words. And here in James 2:19, we see that pretty much laid out, in the New Living Translation. It pretty much says, "Great, but even the demons believe in God." So that's just something that it gives you thought, and it gives you like that extra, it just gives you something extra to think about, because if the demons believe that God exists, then it just shows you that anybody can believe in God and just say that. And now, I want to transition into the believing God part of this. So, believing God means that you believe that God will do exactly what He says He will do, and that His word is true. But here's the extra part that really makes this believing God. It means you show this in the way that you live, whether it's interacting with others, whether it's the way that you um, carry yourself, the way that you act when nobody's watching, when nobody's looking. That these are all things that show belief, true belief in God. And I got another verse, Hebrews 11:1. It says, "Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see." So it's crazy, because people say they believe in God, right? And they treat people like crap, or they talk to people like they're nothing, but they say they believe in God. And it's very hard to believe this when you see somebody doing something that completely contradicts what they say they believe in. Because if you truly believe in God, why would you be doing X, Y, and Z? And if you are doing stuff in where, let's say, okay, I'm gonna just give an example, right? So let's say this person named, it's just a random example. Let's say there's a boy named Josh, right? And Josh, he is a older brother, and Josh, he's about 15 years old, right? So Josh, he has a sister who's only about 3 years younger than him. She's 12, and her sister is named uh, Jane, right? So let's say Josh and Jane, they're siblings, they live in the same house, blah blah blah, right? But Josh, he always is talking about how much he believes in God. He's always posting on social media about him believing in God. He's always, uh, you know, pretty much pretending to be a believer. And what people don't see is that Josh, every time he sees his sister, he always like tries to belittle her. He always is talking negatively to her. He's always making sure that he's as mean as possible to his sister, who he sees every day, right? He sees his sister every day. He goes to school with his sister. He lives in the same house, obviously, as his sister, but he treats her like a just like somebody he hates. Like he just treats his sister very, very badly. And Josh, he's always proclaiming that he believes in God, but every time he interacts with his sister, it's always a negative interaction because he's always trying to put his sister down. And as I just read in Hebrews 11:1, faith is the evidence of things hoped for, things that we cannot see. So how could you have faith in something that you can't see, which obviously nobody can see God? How can you say that you believe in him when you don't treat somebody who you see every day and who's supposed to be your family and you don't treat them right? How could you say that? So that's just a real life example that I wanted to share with you guys, but I didn't want to have this episode be long and drawn out. This was just supposed to be a quick, um, straight to the point episode, and I think I did a good job of doing that. So with um, that being said, that's going to be the end of today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys were able to understand this message, and I hope it was clear for you to understand. But until next time, I'm your host, Jalen Austin Taylor, and I'm out.